Hello,
What
hello.
up? What up? How's everyone doing?
How are you?
Good, man. Just relax this weekend, ready for the start of the new week. You know, the usual. How about yourself? I saw that you were sick. You feeling better?
Oh, it looks like I survived the weekend. I wasn't sure there for a little while, but I'll be alright. Just a little bit of a flu.
It's good. It's good to hear. How about you, Daniel?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been actually I've been healthy lately, really healthy. I've been staying,
Good, man.
been eating well, exercising,
Working
even
out?
doing yoga, everything. I'm feeling good.
Yoga?
Nice, dude.
Are there pictures?
But I
What's
didn't
going
hear
on?
you.
Are there pictures of the yoga?
Oh no. No.
We need you to share,
Hopefully.
please.
Hopefully not.
That's
Hopefully
too
not.
bad. We could really be missing some core viewership right there.
I know. It should be the beginning screen of the stream.
It should be.
Anyways, let's get into our topics for the week. Let's start off by just Infinicine is now in open beta. They are a cloud-based software, streaming software program. We actually use them for the podcast now. I know Mob has a little more information than I would if you care to take over.
Yeah, so basically Infinicine is built off the idea of, what if you only needed the cloud and a very thin client in order to broadcast from anywhere. And I think it's the closest to that mission. There's been several others who have had some cloud-based components in it, but I think it's got the most complete picture of your studio in the cloud, so to speak.
Yeah, and I've, I met the guys at they were TwitchCon if I'm not completely mistaken. Yeah, they were, and I actually met them there, and we talked a little bit. I talked with Ryan for a little bit about their program, and then I actually had a hour-long interview with the co-founder of it. So that was also interesting, which is on my podcast. But we kind of talked about the future of their program and kind of how it can be used in many different ways. For instance, one way that we talked about more in depth was how it could be used to have certain shows going on, sort of like this, where we can kind of pull in cameras from all different sources. It's just it's an easier way to be able to kind of direct the show. Now, we have had some problems with it, not gonna lie, but again, I think Mob can kind of explain that a bit better.
Yeah, so there's been a few bugs. There's been a few times where we wanted to go live and we couldn't. There's been a couple times where the cameras didn't crop just right or the audio didn't sync just right. But after we've kind of gotten some of the bugs out, it's been pretty nice here the last couple weeks, and I think once it's a little bit more stable, it'll be a pretty good replacement for your typical OBS. One of the really nice things about Infinicine, in my opinion, is the fact that if you're a streamer who's traveling a lot, who's always on the road, you just switch to another computer and you log into your Infinicine and everything is there. Especially if you're using it in combination with use it in combination with Twitch alerts and Stream Pro. Those are also cloud-based services, and if you use the combination of the three, you pretty much have all the different kinds of alerts and overlays and notifications and on-screen things that you could ever imagine. So we're getting very close to a point where you just one login and it's good to go, and that's really exciting. I think cloud-based stuff is kind of the future, especially once they add collaboration, which is supposed to be pretty soon, where I can just send like a special link to somebody or put it in chat and have like call-in viewers and have pull in their video and whatever they want to send there too. So once collaboration is added, I won't think of anything else that's major that I could think of that I would need to have.
I do have to say their customer service is pretty on point from what I see, from what they help people. When we had issues, especially, like, they were on top of it. So that's pretty cool to have a company that's on top of customer service like that on Twitter.
Yeah, and one thing I actually didn't know about the collaboration feature that they're introducing. that reminds me a lot about Blab, which already has that feature in a way, but now it's not a cloud-based service at all, and it's not something you can use for Twitch. It's a separate live streaming service, but that is kind of used for a lot of professionals out there, kind of where they want to have a conversation with the audience, right? And same way you can just pull in someone calls and you can pull in the video, you can pull in questions, all that type of stuff. And yeah, I think that having these type of services that works out of the box and you can just open up basically and start using like on the spot and everything is just there. That is definitely something that we're moving towards. I'm seeing a lot of other services out there that are trying to do the same thing. Not exactly the same thing as in for live streaming, but for certain features and for certain alert systems and all this type of stuff that kind of want to put everything inside of one box and then sell it. So yes, I think there's going to be, at the end of this year, there's going to be a lot of competition for that space, for all different services that are coming out very soon. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do, like what happens with cloud-based software when it comes to broadcasting in the future.
Well, the only other true cloud solution that I'm aware of right now is Stage 10, and Stage 10 doesn't have quite the feature list that Infiniscene does at this time, but clearly they're thinking about this direction of cloud-based everything. But yeah, I agree. There's more cloud-based stuff coming, and I'm aware of a couple of startup companies who are rolling out, services that are similar to kind of a mixture of some of the things that are out there right now. So your Twitch alerts, your Stream Pro, and the streaming portion too, the actual backbone that does the encoding. So there's services coming out that will be mixtures of various things like this, and so yeah, it'll get more interesting by another few months.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Do you think it's the future of like broadcasting?
Yes. yes. I think so.
I think it's one of the futures. I don't think it's the only future. I think there will always be a market for a good, client side software as well. And I think OBS is the tried and true and tested, but unfortunately for newcomers it's a little bit difficult to set up. So I think there'll be other people coming along that have one-click go live kind of functionality that'll be client side, and then there'll be things like Infiniscene which are web-based, which I don't know how much Infiniscene is going to be once it gets out of beta too. Pricing is going to be interesting as well. There's no way that something like this could be free, in my opinion, just because it takes resources to do encoding.
Yeah.
So now, do you think people will resort to OBS because it'll always be free instead of using subscription-based?
Well, that's always your competition, right? If you're not better than OBS significantly to the point where people want to spend money, people will always just fall back to what they know and what's free. So, I mean, that's what keeps you honest, right? As a company developing these things.
But on the other hand, like if you want to be smart, you don't go after that audience at all. You skip the whole starter audience and you go in directly for premium or like mid-tier. You skip everyone at once, and at that point you're not competing with OBS anymore. You're competing with no one. You're at the top. I mean, it might be thin at the beginning, but you might be able to survive better that way. But that also might not be true. But you are competing on your own at that point, right? So I mean, the same principle can be applied to Twitch channels. Like if you want to stand out, and you will find success in that. You will, because you're the only one doing it. You just need to find the right audience for it.
Agreed. Next, let's move on. So moving on, it seems like Twitch has been focusing a lot on updating their console apps. Europe recently got a new and improved PS4 app, and they made a couple updates to the Xbox One, where now you can listen to party chat while you're playing the game. Before, you could only listen to the person with the microphone, like the said broadcaster. Now you can bring the entire party into it. I brought this up because I thought it was cool, like for those who can't afford a computer, because let's say a decent computer can run you anywhere between $1,200 to $2,000, and you still want to broadcast, buying a system like an Xbox or a PlayStation is a good alternative for now until you build an audience and build a brand, and eventually you never know, through donations or whatever it may be, you could build your own PC. But I thought it was pretty cool that Twitch was focusing on consoles and improving their app on there.
I have nothing to say about it really. I mean, the only thing I haven't used any of those type of things at all. So my only question is, can you subscribe directly from the app, or do you need to go to Twitch?
So you can't, like, it depends, because like depending on which app you use, like for the PlayStation and the Xbox app, you can only view, like you can log in and view, but you can't subscribe on there. You can only just watch. But if you're a broadcaster, it's more good for a broadcaster point of view rather than like a viewer. I know a lot of people do watch it on console, but like I said, it's a good alternative, a cheaper alternative to pretty much use if you want to get into broadcasting and not spend the $1,000 plus.
No, that's true.
Just like I said, different alternative.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mindset that you can build a computer for about the same price that you'd spend on a console and have still
like $300.
Yeah, I've built computers for $300 and $400 before. Sure.
And it can run everything, including like OBS and everything like that.
Not on the highest settings, but I can run it. But the thing is, it's very difficult as a broadcaster to. Well, there's different opinions on this. I don't know if we want to get into this. Some people say, well, you should start broadcasting directly on the Xbox or PS4 because those apps feature other people who are on consoles first in the viewer list, and so you have a built-in audience, right? And so another viewpoint is not too many people get partnered streaming just on console alone. There's been a few, but it's usually more difficult to build up your brand and launch yourself basically into Twitch because of the fact that the console doesn't give you overlays, it doesn't give you alerts, it doesn't give you a lot of the features that people are kind of used to as a baseline standard across Twitch. It's very stripped down broadcasting. And a lot of people who do heavy amounts of console gaming on their channels are using capture devices so that they can bring it through their computers to do better things, and so now you're competing with those guys, so there's not really any exclusive audience that you have. So I don't know, there's an argument to be had that if you're going to be serious about broadcasting, you should skip the direct from console step anyways, just because it might be a waste of time. But that's just one opinion.
Yeah, and I'm gonna echo a few things. I mean, even if you're high on their list, right? You have to look at the percentage of people that watch it. It's not that many. It's probably one of the lowest. But another aspect is the fact that sometimes you want to get used to streaming. I think that's a good thing. If you don't have the other means to be able to get a computer that can stream it, get started with at least seeing how it feels. I think I've talked to so many small streamers that message me and they want to know, can I get branding can I get overlays, can I get branding instead of when I stream on PlayStation? And I say no, you can't. And I talk to them, I hear the situation, and there's often like a whole the economic side of it, and I tell them, hey, keep on streaming on your PlayStation, that's fine. You're not gonna build an audience, probably. You might, but probably not. But at least you get experience, you get the feel for it. You kind of get used to being in front of a camera, maybe interact sometimes, but at least you get a start. And be able to take that first step is a lot better than you're sitting still and waiting for something that might never happen.
Agreed. That's the only thing that I don't like about it is you can't get overlays, you can't get notifications. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like that adds a lot to a broadcast. And if you just are the game and a camera, it kind of looks like, I don't know, you're not doing it properly.
I wonder,
like you said, just getting a good start. That's good to do.
I wonder, and this is kind of pie in the sky thinking, but I wonder if something like Infiniscene could have an app for the Xbox or the PS4 where you're broadcasting from your console to them, adding in your overlays and alerts there, and then broadcasting to Twitch, that might be kind of the best of both worlds if
That'd
they
be
were to
pretty cool
ever
then.
roll that out.
I didn't even think about that.
I mean,
That's
we're
true.
just combining the first two news stories, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that even I think when I talked stage 10, I think that's kind of what I had in mind that I wanted to do anyway. I don't know how far they've gotten on that in that aspect. I mean, when I checked them out at TwitchCon, you were able to pull in from your cell phone and your tablet and those type of stuff, and it was all wireless. So, I mean, it's about getting there, and I think that, I mean, the more competition there's going to be between all of these different services, the faster we're going to see something like that.
I agree. That'd be cool. Let's see. What else happened? Twitch finally launched the channel feed beta for desktop and mobile, and everyone seems to like it so far. What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I like it. I think it's a cool idea. We saw it with the food channel first, and the couple of things that I like about it, a couple of things I don't like about it. The thing that I do like about it is that when you post on it, it can transfer it over to Twitter. That's nice. What I don't like is when you connect it, it also posts what you post on Twitter to Twitch. That's not a good thing at all, because that's not the same thing. Twitter and Twitch are very different things. There's a different experience, and you don't ever want to break the experience. Like if you take it to a game aspect, you don't ever want to break the immersion, right? But if you're on Twitch and you get that Twitter feed, all of a sudden, you're breaking the immersion of being on Twitch. You're on Twitter. You don't want to be on Twitter. You want to be on Twitch. So I think that's a bad thing. But that could be solved pretty easily by adding option of just having it push out to Twitter, not pulling in from Twitter. Other than that,
I have a question for you, Daniel. Does it make it difficult to build panels now because of the layout of it, or no? From a designer's
No, it's the
perspective?
same.
Okay.
No, it's the same.
Because I saw a couple
you just
tweets
go
of
from-
people being like that there was like issues because certain panels got pushed down due to the post section. Like it depends,
But so here's the thing.
well, different screen sizes were already pushing stuff around
Yeah.
anyways, or mobile or whatever else. Everything has to work in those 300
Yeah.
by whatever blocks. I don't
Yeah.
think that that's a valid concern just because there's so many different screen sizes. Like I have a mega wide screen and everybody's stuff that they try to customize that looks like that, and panels breaks for me anyways. So
That's so right. See, the only reason why they're upset is because they did something wrong. Like they didn't understand the system, so they tried to mess around with it the way it wasn't supposed to be. Like if you design correctly and you brand it correctly from the start, there's not an issue. If you understood that if you have a bigger size, they're gonna be 4 of them. If you have a small size, they're gonna be 2 of them. If you have that in mind when you start designing things, right, nothing will break unless they completely change the system, which they didn't. They just added that thing in, a 320 wide feed. That's it. So nothing really changed. Yes, things got pushed down, but if you design right in the first place, and if you use the text in the right way and not like have paragraph on paragraph on paragraph, it would still look good and it would still function. I mean, so it's not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue, at least.
Mob, do you like the channel feed?
I like where this is going. I'm not sure if it's perfect, but I like where this is going, where you have more interactivity and more room and more space to be social on your page, and you can kind of make it more your home. I like that. I don't know what's coming in the future, but I do like that this is a step towards that direction.
Yeah, I don't seem to mind it. Looks good.
Yeah.
All right. So this next topic. I posted up, during the weekend. Twitch Creative is now allowing car restoration and maintenance to be added to the list of things that you can stream. And I got a lot of mixed reviews and replies from that. Some people were happy, and then a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's Justin TV again." Like they're resorting back to their old ways. It was very mixed back and forth. I was surprised because I thought it was cool just because it's you know, if I want to watch someone restore a car, or like let's say I have a car maintenance problem and someone's fixing it, you can like kind of learn that way. And I think that learning is like a good thing, whether it be a drawing or making something on Photoshop, or you know, just watching someone change their oil or change their brake pads or their whatever you do in cars, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was announced around 1st of April, which is kind of confused me at first. But again, if someone can make something out of it, I think it's good, right? No matter what. If Twitch want to move into that space again, fine. That's their choice. You know, either you adapt or you go away. That's two options that you have, right? If a service changes something, you don't like it, well, there are other places you can go. You don't have to stay. That's at the end of the day. Sure, I mean, I think we might see some really cool things coming in that category eventually. I mean, I can't really see anything. Have there been any streams? Have you seen any streams yet at all?
I have not seen any. I saw like a lot of people getting tagged in the tweet of like the post I put up saying, "Hey, you should do this," or you know, this and that. But I haven't actually seen any car streams on Twitch yet. There could be, but I mean, I haven't seen any personally.
I have seen. There's a guy who streams from his garage fairly frequently. I don't know if I'm. I don't know what my opinion is on this stuff. I don't know that I should be expressing an opinion one way or another necessarily. I just know that art and creativity is often subjective, and sometimes there will be a little bit of wiggle room as Twitch figures out the kinds of content that they do or do not want to encourage. I think that there's going to be some give and take, and hopefully people don't abuse the category just trying to make a point or anything, but I think it's a little bit subjective, and I think that there's plenty of room for that. I don't think it hurts any quote-unquote valid streamers to allow something that you don't consider as valid. I don't think that there's really an argument there either. I don't think it concerns you. I think you have to be entertaining at what you do regardless of what it is, or you're not going to have viewers.
True. And I'm also, I mean, again, it's so early on. We haven't seen that much. Like, it's just, I think that eventually we'll see some really cool things come out of it. Like, just imagine merging the game world with the car world in some way, more so than just having a car game. You know, imagine just having having something custom made, sort of, you know, if for those old enough, Pimp My Ride, but do it in a gaming aspect. All of a sudden you have kind of a show there. And so I think there's definitely things you can do that speaks to both communities without having to just be, I'm working on a car, that's it. Like, you can combine things. Like, we all have more passions than one. I mean, there's many gamers out there that love cars and cars, so why not, you know, why not really? I mean, I think there's a lot of cool things that can be done.
I agree. I like to watch car stuff, so I mean, I've always been like a enthusiast to an extent. So I think it'd be cool to watch on Twitch, just like another added thing when no one's on, or like, you know, there's someone at a trade show and all the streamers are gone. It's just something just to, you know, put on in the background. Let's see. So Twitch finally finished their studio, and it looked awesome. Did you guys get a chance to watch the VOD or the actual episode?
No, I haven't had time.
Mob?
Of course, I never miss a Twitch Weekly.
Yeah, I mean, they've been talking about it for so long, and it finally came through. So it was really awesome that the way that it came out. They showed a lot of the artwork that was shown at TwitchCon for the Twitch creative section. They hung in the background, so that was cool to see. Gears art of Emmett was up there. It just looked awesome. It was really done well.
Yeah, I think it's a big upgrade. And something else that you guys may or may not have noticed that they upgraded almost all of their graphics too, like the little in between segment graphics and their lower thirds and all that stuff. Everything has been kind of revamped along with the studio. So I wanted to point that stuff out too because they did a lot of really great looping motion graphic stuff for it as well. Kind of like the stuff that they did for TwitchCon, the first TwitchCon, kind of in that same style. It's really interesting now to see that Twitch has kind of an art style that's their own, it's internal, and it's when you see it, it looks pretty good. So props to whoever came up with that.
Yeah, it was cool to see. And then, as Daniel said before, it was April 1st last week. So, what were your favorite April Fool's jokes that you saw over the day, throughout the day?
I was mostly confused about things. I mean, I'm getting to the age where I'm confused easily. So I mean,
How old are you?
Talk about it. I'm young, but like I went to the Twitch subreddit and I was like, oh, okay, this is funny, and then I didn't come back until the day after. I mean, I'm not entertained by those type of things. I just no.
I hear you. So like we did an article like 6 of our favorite. We wrote an article like debunking Bob Ross, saying, you know, like, how does he stream for so long without taking breaks? Like, he doesn't interact with his audience. Just kind of something, you know, fun just to have. And me, Freakish, Trinket, Ethan, D Plus, and a couple others from our Discord that we hang out in. We all came together and made it just as a little fun project that we did, and I thought the response was cool. The Twitch subreddit was a good one. I think the one that took the cake was the announcement of Lyric being sponsored by Origin. They pretty much just made a whole new website called Lyric PC and did like this whole thing that he bought them out. I thought it was a real cool way to introduce a sponsorship for a broadcaster.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed that one. I mean, that was just that's just like a really cool promotion in general as well. So I like that. But yeah, I mean, I think I probably would enjoy it more if I did something myself. Yeah, I had some cool ideas for Eat Me JP, creating a JPPJ would be kind of cool to have, you know. But I mean, I thought about it the day off, so but.
Bro, you should have did something, man. Come on.
I should have. I know. Yeah. Maybe next year.
And Razor did like Project Breadwinner, where it was like a toaster, which was I thought was pretty cool. It was clever. Then Twitch Weekly did like their first episode aired on April 1st, April Fool's Day, and they did it in like the boiler room, it looks like, of the building, and they had like a cardboard Twitch Weekly like cut out, and they kind of just joked around that this is the new studio, that it wasn't done, and then they cut out of it, and DJ Wheat like walked off because he got pissed, and then they just cut to the new studio, and I thought that was pretty cool, a cool way to introduce the studio.
It's worth mentioning too that one of your other April Fools was an actual legitimate release as well, the air horn.
Oh Discord. Yeah, the Discord air horn.
That was actually their sneaky way of introducing the new Discord API, which is what powered the air horn solution, but what's also going to power a lot of other bots and cool things for Discord. And so that was their sneaky way of introducing it. It was kept too. Like, you could still add the air horn. I think they said that that's been over 1 million air horn blasts so far.
It's very, very annoying sometimes. Especially when people do it like repetitively, one after another, for like 15 lines. It's just like, alright, like, enough. But
well, the cool thing is, I've helped work on some bots and stuff for Slack in the past, and now that it has legitimate, you know, full-blown API access for Discord, you can add in stuff with webhooks and some of those kinds of things to have full bot functionality in Discord. So I think that's going to be really nice too.
But it's not fully released yet, right? It's just part of it that's released, if I read it right.
I mean, there's definitely more to it coming. It's definitely just the first version of it, but it's complete enough now that you could at least mostly build out the functionality.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that as well. I mean, me and my developer, we're actually working on some really cool things at the moment. So we're probably gonna take a look at it eventually. Yeah. So I mean, anytime there's any API that opens up that is kind of closely related to Twitch, I'm gonna be looking at it. I mean, I'm not gonna be the only one. I mean, tons of people gonna be looking at it and trying to figure out what cool things that we made with it. And at the end of the day, that should always be a benefit towards the streaming community. So, you know, always good to see that type of thing come to fruition.
Yep.
Agreed. And then so Twitch analytics, like there's a couple things you can use. There's a couple programs and there's a couple websites you can go to track things. But one thing I thought that was interesting is Stream Hatchet is now free, which started today, April 11th. They were free when they first came out in beta for, I believe it was a month or so. And then they went to subscription-based pricing. And recently they announced that they are free. So if you used Stream Hatchet before and you liked it, I would get back on it to use it again because it's free. I'm curious to find out if they just failed to monetize with the subscriptions or they just, I mean, I'm all fingers point to that. What I can think of. I can't think of them, you know, why else would they do it for free, you know?
I mean, I think that okay, again, a little bit of self-promotion. I talked to the guys, like, I don't remember if it was before or after TwitchCon, but I talked to them. They're from Spain. They're some really nice guys that created that stuff, and we had an hour-long interview. But what I get out of that is that they were never really sure about the pricing structure. They never really knew how exactly we're going to monetize it. The idea was to have there was a free version and there was a paid version. I always looked at it as not the best way to do it at the time because it was a bit too soon and it wasn't directed well enough towards someone who would be willing to pay for it when there are free services out there that do not the same as they do, but they do something that is good enough and it doesn't cost anything at all. So what I think they want to do now is to create a different pricing structure, and I would imagine it will be more towards having that. I would imagine having a premium service still, but just being better at promoting it. I can't really see any other way to do it. At least, I mean, you can always do ads, but whenever I don't like ads.
So you're saying that you think that they're going to go free and then go back to subscription base?
They have. I mean, I can't.
Because if that happens, no one's going to use it ever. Like, I'll tell you that.
No, but I mean, listen. I mean, look. So what they had was a structured, like a tiered version. Like you could up to a certain amount of followers, right, or amount of viewers. Then you can have it, but you have to pay at a certain point. I'm saying that version of having everything is always going to be free. I think that's what they're going for, and then having a completely different thing, pretty much. That is the more of a. I would imagine, at least. I wouldn't say. So it never limits you. That's the thing I'm going for. It won't limit you depending on size. So you would never have to pay it, but if you pay for it, you get this. Does that make sense better?
I hear you. I understand, but then it's like okay, so wait, you're giving me access to everything right now because they're going free, like all free, everything you can use. But then like later down the line, like I'm gonna have to pay if I want to use these features. If I'm past a certain amount of viewers, I'm just not going to use your product anymore.
That's what they used to have. That's the old structure they had. I think that they're always going to have that free version, no matter how big or small you are. You're always going to have it free. But they're probably going to introduce certain features, new features that are not going to be free. So there's a premium version.
I see what you mean. They'll be like, okay.
So because the old version is exactly what you talked about, that up to a certain amount of viewers, you could use the free version, but when you hit that limit, you had to use the paid version. And I think that having more of a premium service for top tier streamers instead, that's probably a better approach. I don't know if they. I know the guys like. I know they like esports, so I'm sure they want to work closer with that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
This is another discussion like we had with OBS. You have to be significantly enough better over the free solutions and have enough of a purpose in order to make sure that you're viable long term in the marketplace. So there are free solutions. Let's talk about those free solutions for a second. There's what comes from Twitch directly, which is where most people start. Your dashboard, and it's gotten better over the last few months. It's doing a better job now showing you some of your revenue and things like that. And then you have products that have been around a long time, like Social Blade. So Social Blade is really high level, but it's basically a good way to rank yourself among other people. Just if by concurrence and follows, there's not too many. It doesn't drill down too far, but Social Blade's been around forever. And then you've got Twinge, which does a really good job of comparing some brief information about your page, but then also how you're trending against other people, and kind of what other games are trending and stuff as well. So it's several steps further than Social Blade. But then there's been some other ones that have been released lately. So Lutility came out recently, and originally it was just for live streams only. Like they only did live streams. You could view yourself versus other people or view things within a game category, but only for what was happening live right then, right now. There was no historical view. But they just released in the last few days an update which also gives you historical, but they didn't do it in such a great way, in my opinion. They changed the UI, so in my opinion the UI took a step back.
I agree
and they also made it so that the historical isn't like long-term historical view. It's like you can click on yesterday's stats to see how that point in time was against everyone else, and you're like viewing like a broadcast versus everyone else, broadcast by broadcast. It's not proper long-term historical stats the way that I was hoping that they would release. So it definitely has some shortfalls. I think there's certain things that Twinge does better when you're looking at the ecosystem as a whole than these other ones. But I think Stream Hatchet does a better job of looking at where you are individually specific to your channel and how you're comparing against yourself and against your past self and that kind of thing. So I think that there's room in the marketplace to have different types of data tools, but you've got to be very cautious that if you're going to release something paid in this space, you're going up against free services. And if you can't do a better job of the free services, or even a combination of the free services like Twinge plus, let's just say Twinge plus Lutility gives you as good of information as Stream Hatchet, and maybe it was, then why would you pay for Stream Hatchet? You could just check two different ones to get your information, as if you're saving $5-10 a month. I mean, that might not sound like a lot of money, but the average streamer doesn't have, the average streamer isn't a large streamer perchance, and everything that you have to pay monthly, it adds up. So you got to make sure it's worth it. So yeah, that's basically my short version of my opinion. There's a lot of other services out there, and it's very difficult to pay for this type of thing because there are free ones out there.
I just want to add a little bit to that, and is that I think I know that Stream Hatchet is a lot better than all of the other services, just because of that it's so geared towards that streamer, towards you as a streamer, instead of just as a whole metric type thing. And I think that when we're dealing with our personal streams, our personal brands, having something that is more geared towards you will always be a better option. I think where Stream Hatchet failed in that aspect is that they weren't out there talking about it, their system or their service in that way. They talked about it as a tool to be analytical, right? That was all they really talked about. Come here, you can see your numbers. But the fact is, when you look at it deeper than that, then when you're just understanding all of the different things and how they work together, it's not just that. It shows more of a connection between you and your viewers. It shows the chat in a very specific way. It shows like the most used words during a certain amount of hours or a certain amount of time. Again, those type of things are extremely valuable to someone who understands them. But if you don't understand them, there's no value. And I think that Stream Hatchet failed to inform people the right way. And that's something that I commented about in my interview with them, and told them directly, like, you need to inform people. You need to teach people about how to use use the service. Because right now, the only thing that we know about is Twitch, Social Blade, and it's just be able to compare yourself to others. And that's not really what Stream Hatchet was about or is about. Sadly, they didn't do that. And I think that if they went out there and actually marketed it themselves the right way, they would have seen a lot more success than what they did.
It's definitely a different type of tool. There's a need for tools like Twinge and Social Blade, though, not necessarily for the individual streamer, but for teams and for people trying to recruit. And that's another thing too, is I think we're going to see a lot more of a certain type of tool in the future, and that type of tool is the kind of tool that can connect brands with influencers. And I think we're starting to see some of those kinds of websites pop up, but they're more like agency based. I think we're going to see some tools that are going to be coming along which are a little bit more self-service, where you can be automated to be connected from brands to streamers, and those require a heavy amount of data backend and analysis, and so that's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you know, but I know that those tools are coming. They actually are already here. They just aren't public yet, and so that's the only thing.
Right.
They exist.
Well, I don't know who's supposed to be who I'm supposed to know is public or not. So I'm not mentioning any names.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say anything other, but they exist.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. They exist, and there's more coming as well.
All right. So Daniel mentioned it before, and Mob, the Discord's API is officially out. One of the things you could do is integrate Nightbot with your Discord server, so it'll have the same commands that it will in your Twitch chat. So if you have a large Discord, or if a lot of people are talking, or there's any spam going on in there, it'll take care of it right away. What other interesting things do you think will happen with the API in the future?
Good question. I think that there has to be some. I think someone is going to figure out how to better integrate it into the stream itself. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because I am working on it, and I don't want to talk publicly about all the different things that we discussed, and we want to start, integrating into our future tools and services. But let's put it like this. I think that when we're talking about any API out there, I think at the end of the day, it needs to be beneficial for the streamer. If it's not beneficial for the streamer, it's kind of redundant. And the better we can kind of figure out how to mimic things that already exist, but solve problems that we have right now, or problems that will become a thing in the future. That's where we're gonna see the best tools come, and the best usage of any API is gonna come from.
What about you, Mob?
I'm hopeful that some tools that have been developed for Slack that I've seen that allow you to have your ban log go into Discord and have all of your different historical things that you need to have access to. Let's just say donations and subscription renewals and things of that nature. Being able to feed those into channels. But the way that the Discord is set up right now, Discord's not meant to be the center of your stream necessarily in some regards, because it doesn't have search access, and sometimes things can get buried easily, and it's hard to find, and you can't pin stuff easily. And anyways, there's things that I wish Discord would advance on to become more advanced, but there's a certain simplicity to Discord too. So where's the line between simplicity and ease of use and being kind of like a one-stop communications tool for your team? too. So there's a fine line in there somewhere.
Do you think that it will be better to kind of figure out how to use it behind the scenes instead of trying to put it like front and center in the stream?
Putting Discord front and center to the stream?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about kind of, let's say you kind of pull in something from chat, kind of, maybe it's a question, maybe it's something like that. Is it better to have, if someone uses API to create a tool to showcase on a live stream, or would a tool be better served behind the scenes for a mod team, or integrate into a website instead? There are two different spaces there, right? What do you think?
I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I find that Discord has been more of a casual environment for lots of people, and I think that the casualness of it kind of prevents it from being used seriously in stream, because people have a tendency to troll and to post inappropriate stuff that you wouldn't want viewed through the stream, or to try to get people's attention by jumping on voice channel and just broadcasting themselves. Whatever access that you give people, even if it's restricted to subs only, there's still some amount of casualness there that I would want to have additional barriers. So I don't think that it's something that would bring too much into your stream, because it would have the potential to get abused.
But could you say the same thing about Twitch chat? I mean, it's same type of thing.
Bringing Twitch chat into your stream?
Yeah, for instance. I mean,
yeah.
it's the same thing.
Well, I guess now that it has Nightbot integration, maybe you could, does it have Nightbot integration where it can actually moderate what's said in Discord chat?
It's the same commands that'll be in your Twitch chat.
Yeah, but can it remove things?
Freakish, can it remove things? Can you let us know?
I haven't tried it. I haven't tried the integration yet at all.
Again, that's something that might happen. It's interesting to see. I mean, that's the kind of things that I think the API will be good for. Right now it's, again, very early on, but I think we're going to see a lot of cool things, not just Nightbot, but a ton of other services and a ton of other usage of the API is going to happen, and it's going to happen really fast, because that scene is insane when it comes to creating different type of bots and all type of things. So I imagine that not being far away at all.
We will see.
I'm excited to see what happens with Discord in the future. Let's see. So this article I thought was interesting. The NPD group, which is a group that provides market information and advisory services to help their clients make better business decisions, are located out of Port Washington, New York. They recently did a study on consumer viewing habits of esports and streaming gameplay. A couple of the points that we found interesting were out of 4,000 gamers were surveyed. 1,700 qualified as recent esports competition or streaming gameplay viewers. 44% of current gamers have watched either formal esports competitions or informal video streaming of gameplay in the past 6 months. These gamers average 3 hours per watching session, with 18% watching some form of video gameplay on a daily basis and 46% watching weekly. 2/3 of gamers are currently playing the game that they indicate watching the most, with a sizable group of gamers who are playing games they discovered by watching. 69% have purchased either full game or downloadable content because they saw someone play it online. I thought these numbers were pretty solid. I know that before I purchase a game, unless I am fully into it, I will definitely check Twitch to see what it's about and if it looks interesting. Like watching people play Quantum Break saved me $60 from not buying that game, so I was very happy about that. But I thought these numbers were solid. Did you guys get a chance to look at the article at all, or Mob?
No,
I know you'll have something to say about it.
Oh.
Well, it's good data, and honestly, it's no surprise that we're kind of taking a page out of what used to be the review magazines and things like that. Used to be where people would look to first before they bought a game. You know, if you had a friend where you could just ask somebody, what their opinion was. That used to be, that used to be one thing before you bought your game. Or then you'd look at review magazines and see how they scored various games. But now I think it's pretty much across the industry known that you go watch it first. Like it might show up on Twitch before you can even buy it, which is even better because then you can get it first look. You can hear what your favorite personality has to say about it. You can view what's happening there live in the game. You can disagree with what they're saying even because you could see what it is right there on the. It's like the betas that you used to get back when I was a kid, especially. There would always be beta discs. Sometimes they'd be attached to your magazines, and these beta discs would have preview access to the. This has replaced all of that. Twitch and other video services have kind of replaced all of that, and this basically just backs up the fact that this is where people go to find what they want to buy, and this is how people make their decisions. And concurrently, this is why money is going into Twitch, because the people know that if you want to spend money to get your game in front of people so that they'll decide to buy it, you spend it on Twitch.
So I have a question for you, Mob, that you might be able to answer. Do you know if there's similar studies made on specific streamers at all?
What do you mean, like how much?
How much? Yeah, exactly. You take exactly the same stats here. Like we can look at the individuals. Do my viewers buy games at all? Is that something that's happening right now, or do you think that's something that is going to be more and more common?
I know that a basic version of this has happened, and I can't really go into details about that. I do know that, yes, there is a basic version of this kind of study that looks at what the amount sold and what kind of decisions were made by people after they saw it on a stream, and how much money has been made. Certain large streamers have had their numbers analyzed by how much was spent to get the stream approved versus what the reward was from the sales and things like that. I do know that basic studies have been done, yes. As far as a really conclusive or comprehensive study, that I don't know.
But do you think that there's something that we're going to see more of in the future? I mean, just talking about the statistics things earlier, I mean, it's definitely moving in a direction. I mean, with the services that are coming out.
Well, right. So. Right, and with my past experience too, I can tell you that some of this stuff doesn't carry over from channel to channel very well. Some streamers have a very high percentage of engagement, where you'll have nearly everybody, because of their love for the streamer, will check out at least your link, if not go ahead and buy because the streamer was just so in love with it. Where other audiences, they're just more casually there, and they're not engaged, and they're not buying, and they're not clicking on your links. And it varies so widely from channel to channel that it's very difficult to come up with consistent metrics as far as even what to charge advertisers, because it's not quite the same thing as YouTube. And YouTube advertising and sponsorship stuff has been around for much longer, and it's sort of leveled out in such a way that there's very consistent rates. So many views equals so many dollars, and it's a very consistent, to a fraction of a penny accurate, oftentimes, because YouTube has been doing this for a lot longer, and it's a little bit more narrowly focused. With Twitch, it's sometimes an entire culture that people are buying into, and the amount of money that you can charge advertisers or brands for audiences is going to depend on that audience, and each audience is different. Each channel is different. It's actually surprising to me when I've looked at this kind of stuff how different one audience can be from the next.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to like how much do you trust someone, and how brittle is that trust? Because sometimes just saying the wrong thing, linking the wrong thing, is gonna break that trust. So I think a lot of streamers that are doing these things need to be very careful about how they position themselves in the future when it comes to advertising, because you can break that trust so easily, and you need to maintain that trust no matter what. That trust is extremely important when it comes to having an audience that actually will.
Yes and no. One example of maybe a no is the fact that certain streamers are so large that if you could pay Lyric to just completely poop on your game, just completely say bad things about it for 2 hours, it doesn't matter. It's going to make $10,000, $20,000 extra dollars worth of sales for that period of time where Lyric is pooping on the game, just because that's the kind of pull that he has. It doesn't even have to be something where they trust him, or it's just any coverage at all from some people is considered good coverage. So there's a few exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but what I'm talking more about was when someone recommends something. Like, say, I recommend this game. If I shit on something, that's a different story, right? But I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean with that. Well, actually,
Silent made a good point in chat. It's very difficult to negotiate sponsorships as advertisement. Many companies are used to YouTuber numbers. It's hard to put value on Twitch stats at the moment. Coming from a broadcaster.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think that it's something. Twitch is so young still, and there have been so many different aspects of it, and being able to talk to so many different people about it as well kind of allows me to give a very specific perspective on it. But I would have to say that it's going to take time, and it's going to take a couple of leaders to really step up and say, hey, listen, this is it. This is what's going to be needed for this amount, and it has to be the right people at the right time. If the wrong people at the wrong time does it, we're going to go in a really bad direction, and we don't want that. So
now, do you think having like a manager or like being part of a manager group, like it comes to mind, like the OP group, negotiating your deals, is that good for broadcasters, or could that harm them?
I think it's
good. Either.
Yeah.
Right. Because let's say I have a manager and they're negotiating payouts, CPMs for me or whatever, coverage, and they push too hard, and then eventually it kind of like scares a client away, and then there goes that one big client that I could have had if if I would have negotiated the deal, maybe I would have back down a little bit and met them halfway instead of just being, no, this is the number because I'm the manager and I'm negotiating the deals. It could go either way.
Yeah,
well, I will say that managers and agents are going to become a lot more common. I mean, they're already becoming more common, but it's going to become a lot more common over the upcoming days, and they're probably going to be the ones that actually help set in stone some values for this kind of stuff. For better or for worse, they're going to be kind of who sets a lot of the values, and some of that is good because managers and agents oftentimes have people dedicated to studying these kinds of numbers. They know what the last promotions that they did were valued. They know what they were able to deliver off of those. Sometimes they know the value of the streamers better than the streamers know their own value. Sometimes streamers themselves under or overvalue themselves just based on whatever, where managers are kind of more aware of what the going prices are across the industry and what the past deals they've been able to secure have been, and what they've been able to deliver on past stuff. So maybe they know the values a little bit better than individual streamers do, because they're better connected. And so there's definitely value for the most part. But you're right that a bad manager is worse than having no manager. A bad manager can definitely hurt your reputation. It can definitely scare away people. They can definitely be too heavy-handed and wreck deals that you normally would have gotten. But in most cases, good managers, bad managers are discovered fairly quickly and are made to exit the marketplace if they weren't good. So, but I think, the managers and the agents are kind of who are setting prices right now, and that's going to be kind of where the standardization comes from when it first comes to Twitch.
Yeah, I just feel like it could get tricky because, like, let's say, like, your manager's, like, your best friend, because most of the people are very close friends on Twitch, and, like, maybe someone thinks they can manage somebody, and, like, that could end up being pretty terrible for the future of that broadcaster if they are growing in that, in that light.
Yeah, that's true. We already seen that a couple of times go very wrong, and so, I mean, yes, this is someone in chat said it's coming to trust. Like, who do you should someone there's a big difference between like having someone who thinks they can manage you and having someone that actually knows how to manage someone. It's a big difference, right? And here's a mob
Right.
said, sometimes it's better to have no manager than a bad manager, because a bad manager can really mess things up for you, and
Right.
so
And not every streamer is large enough to need or want a manager. In fact, I'd say most people are trying to get one before they're ready. Usually, you don't need a manager or an agent until you're at a point where you're getting multiple different kinds of offers kind of thrown your way and you're not sure which direction to take. Kind of at that point, maybe it would be good to talk to a manager. But typically, people are either self-managed or they have a trusted moderator who helps with some of those tasks, or their spouse oftentimes is a manager, and sometimes spouses are very good managers. So I think that that's where the majority of Twitch is currently, and I would like to produce more resources for those guys, the guys who don't necessarily need an agent or a manager that's dedicated yet, but they don't know where to go and how to get game codes and how to get hardware sponsorships, and aren't aware of what advertising deals that they can get. Something that's like a personal pet project of mine is releasing more people for those self-managed, that kind of that middle class of Twitch, which is probably where a good 70% of Twitch is. So
yeah, and also say that when you have a manager, it looks better. It always gonna look better to the people you contact, and then when you do it yourself, you're just a private person. You don't really know how to talk that language as certain firms or agencies does. It's a very specific language. I worked in those type of agencies before, and it's just when you're there, you feel so outside of the entire world, because you have this very specific language that you talk to people, and I don't know. I just think that there needs to be, as Mob said, there needs to be more places where people can kind of get all the information needed, both when you're a small streamer and a big streamer as well. Like, where can you find a good manager, and where can you find all these tools, etc. So hopefully we get in that direction.
Yep.
Optical said, at the same time, your closest friend also knows you better than a stranger would. They would know better what you like, how you would respond to how to respond to possible clients, things like that. Roar Snacks and Mr. Happy as an example. I hear you, but at the same time, it's like sometimes like your best friend might not have your best interest in mind. Because you got to assume if you're a manager of a broadcaster, you're probably taking at least 10% off top. So they're making money as well. So, there might be something.
Standard.
Yeah, like
Industry standard is 30%.
It's 30%.
That's industry standard.
Oh wow. So yeah, so they're taking a big chunk out of it. So let's say there's a good deal that makes a lot of money, but the broadcaster doesn't want to do it, but the manager says that you agreed to it. So then you're kind of stuck in a weird position between not wanting to do something that represents your broadcast since you're the streamer, but at the same time it's like, well, the manager said you would do it already. So that kind of conflicts with business and personal. So I don't know if you would really want to go down that road.
Yeah, and also want to add that a lot of these managers, that are kind of amateur managers, that kind of pushed into it or whatever, or they choose themselves. I mean, many of them don't get paid. They don't get a 40%. They don't even get a 10% sometimes. So they are really working on really on very limited budgets, so to speak. So I mean, you can't expect them to do as much as someone who takes 30%, for instance. That's just not it.
Yeah, this is probably another whole topic for another whole time, but um,
I didn't
anyway.
even know if it was 30%. I was like, damn. I
Well,
thought it was like 10.
that's
'Cause
just
you
that's
gotta
just
think
of the
about it, you
deals.
know?
That's just the deals. Like if the manager has gone out and secured the contract for you, and it's a deal past what you would have been able to get for yourself, then expecting 30% of that is pretty standard.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that they'll necessarily be paid 30% of everything that you're doing. Just wanted
Yeah,
to separate that.
I was not sure like what standard as far as like in the Twitch slash like broadcasting like campaign community, you know, like when you're getting like $15 to make an emote, it's kind of like you know I don't you know kind of like the standards aren't clear to me, you know. I thought 10% was like good, but 30% is damn like that's a lot.
The prices of an emote are not standard by any stretch.
Well, that's what I see a lot of.
Yeah.
I know Daniel charges more or whatever for his campaigns, but like from what I've seen, like just online, like it ranges, and then they aren't that expensive. But then other people charge more, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna raise my prices. Cool.
What else? So St. Jude Play Live registrations are now open. This past Thursday, 60 plus Twitch broadcasters went to Memphis to visit the facility to get kind of like a hands-on feel of what goes on there and play games with the kids and everything like that. So if you feel you want to raise money for charity, St. Jude is the way to go. Cancer research. You go on St. Jude Play Live website and register. If you raise 500 or more, you get a purple St. Jude Children's Research Hospital Twitch hoodie. The link will be provided in chat if Freakish can link it. And then, yeah, I think that everyone should sign up if you do broadcast. It's a good thing.
Nice.
Yeah, this is it's growing so exponentially, right? The group that's involved with St. Jude. I mean, it wasn't just broadcasters that were at the St. Jude facility. Twitch Weekly was done from there. There was a lot of staff members there. It's becoming a much larger deal, and it's really interesting to me too how deeply Twitch and charity have gone together, and how we seem to be breaking records every year as far as what can be raised for charity. So I think it's all positive. I don't think anybody would have any objections to gamers coming together to raise money for charity.
They raised nearly $2 million too to date, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and St. Jude's is kind of considered world class as far as what they do specifically.
And then the last topic that I'm curious about, I saw on the Twitch subreddit, is that Stream Study and West Kentucky University are teaming up for a gender research project. I know that you started Stream Study Mob, so I was kind of curious to like what this entails. Like, what are you guys doing? Are you still a part of it? Is it affiliation? Are you both your hands in the project, or are you just kind of like overseeing?
So yeah, just to go back into the history of this stream study project, this has kind of been my baby for a long time. It started when Shannon and some other people had that Dropped Films show when they first did that, and Shannon said that she had gone through the top 100 streamers and had manually counted the male and females in that group in order to be able to talk about it. And so I thought to myself, well, surely that's counting them manually. Why did you do that? Why doesn't Twitch themselves have data? Like, surely Twitch themselves, they have data scientists. Surely they know gender, right? You know, of their broadcasters, and so then I started counting myself. So I first started out with like a spreadsheet, like a noob. I got the first few hundred done like with a spreadsheet, and then I was like, well, I should probably get some volunteers because there's lots of other people who like this too, and who are interested in this topic. And then I found Twinge, and the creator of Twinge, Justin, and I became friends. We started talking, and I said, well, hey, you've got a lot of interesting data already on broadcasters. How would you like if we assign some meta tags to your data to make your data even stronger? And he was okay with that, and gave us editing permissions to add some tagging information on the Twinge site. And I created a Slack group, and I called it Stream Study, and I got in about 20 to 30 volunteers. Most of them were moderators, fairly well-known moderators, friends of mine. Some of them later became global mods and admins, which they weren't when I created the group. And then I myself moved at some point to the global mod and then admin. And yeah, so we've got a good group of people who've done a lot of tagging and a lot of data analysis stuff. We've done some stuff that we haven't necessarily talked about yet, where we've gone in and studied toxicity stuff at a per channel level, and we've done some interesting partnership stuff that I'm not going to talk about just yet. But one of the main pieces that we were lacking before we could release our final report was a survey. And we've had a survey planned for some time, but at this last PAX South, I met with a data researcher, Palar is her handle, from Western Kentucky University, and she has full tenure, and she was looking at what she could do next as a next study thing that she wanted to take on as a project. And she heard about the details of where I was with this project, and she wanted to be a piece of it, or she wanted to help out. And I finally decided, well, hey, why don't I make you co-leader? So she is co-leader of this. She developed the survey. She put it through several revisions. It's got some like duplicating type questions in there to help vet the results, to help verify things. She had to run it through her institutional review board there at the university to make sure it wasn't going to be harmful or misleading or whatever. She secured a grant for it from her university. And so the first piece that we're going to be announcing, hopefully around TwitchCon time, is going to talk about gender. But then we've also started down the next path already, which is going to be about toxicity and bullying on the internet. So the two topics are kind of related, but there's some interesting things about each one that we're going to study separately. So over time, we're going to be developing more studies. We're going to start with gender, and it'll be followed up by toxicity, and then we're going to be maybe moving in additional directions after that. So that's kind of where we are with the project. The survey has, at last count, somewhere around 700 respondents.
You're at like 500 a couple days ago.
Yeah, and we're going to be keeping it up, I believe, till the end of the week. So if you haven't filled it out yet, go ahead and do that. I'm aware that it has a couple little grammatical things in it. We didn't catch everything. But there'll be more surveys coming probably in relation to this project. So if we hit 1,000 after this week, that would be really cool. That's more than we kind of hoped for. So that would be really nice, even with its flaws. And then and then I'm hoping to do a panel at TwitchCon. I don't know, we haven't submitted it yet, but we're hoping to do a panel at TwitchCon where we kind of reveal the results of this survey and then of some of our data work that we've done, and we hope to have a panel about what we've learned in this study and what our next steps are. So yes, I'm still very much involved with the project, but I've also been allowing the researcher from Western Kentucky University to take it in the direction that she wants to go as well, which is more of an academic direction, a legitimate academic direction, which is good, I think, for the project.
Interesting.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see what you guys put out in the future. I know you've been doing this for a while, so congratulations.
Yeah, it's been a little bit dormant in the last few months, but it's coming back alive now. Stuff is happening again.
Good. I'm excited for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it as well when everything is completed. Yes, this is a go on.
Especially the results, you know.
I didn't anticipate this being as big as it was. I mean, this has been a bigger project than I ever anticipated. throughout, and it's always just really interesting to me that nobody has really studied this before on a large scale. Like even Twitch themselves doesn't have good gender related information. They kind of came to me for information on this project, which was interesting to me. And other places that have studied it, they couldn't back up their numbers. It was just very based on loose analytical information from third parties, not on Twitch itself. So this will be the first wide-scale, legitimate, backed-up study done on this topic, which could be a big deal once it's released. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one thing that I've seen, like just this I think last 1.5 months, I think my inbox for clients is almost 50% women. I have not seen that until now. Until this year, it was almost just male streamers contacting me. But now, for some reason, I don't know if it's.
It's your looks.
It's my looks. I think it is.
Yeah. It's the yoga poses, bro.
Yoga.
But I think it's interesting. Damn it. I mean, it's just interesting to see how much time they put behind their stream, right? It's not this. I don't get when certain people contact me, they kind of fill out my form in a very specific way, but when a lot of female streamers, they have this, there's just something different about it. The way that they fill out each question very in depth, like they have really sat down, really thought it out, like everything about it. And that helps me understand like who they are, which is really helpful for me to be able to design for them. But I think it has a lot to do with how things are on Twitch, right? I think it has to do a lot with that, and I'm happy to see that more and more females are taking it a lot more seriously. So
yeah, something that I just pulled up the last graphic on screen just to look at it again. Something that we had found out when I did this study the first time, and I ran numbers, was there was like almost a statistical anomaly. It was very strange. Of one of the main things that separated men and women was the average number of hours that they streamed. And the men were streaming 4 to 5 times more hours on average as a group as compared to the women. And it'll be interesting when I pull this number again. We have much larger data set next time. And I'll be pulling this number again, and maybe it's changed since the very first time that this was pulled. But that was actually one of the main things that seemed to separate. It seemed to be the reason why the men were more successful than the women as a whole. Was the majority of the reason was just sheer number of hours streamed. It takes quite a bit of hours to get a foothold in Twitch, in my experience. It takes a schedule, a consistent schedule, at least 3 days a week, at least 3 or 4 hours per session in order to start building your regulars audience. And if women weren't meeting that baseline criteria, they weren't growing, they weren't succeeding really on Twitch. They weren't getting into the top ranks because they were failing to meet that baseline kind of requirement, in my opinion, for what it takes to be successful. So we're going to pull that number again, and we're going to look at it again. But that was something that was really interesting last time around.
Yeah, I think we do this every 2 weeks. I think every 2 weeks we should talk a little bit about what results you have, or at least what you can share, updated information. Because I know that I'm super interested in the research you guys are doing.
Yeah, I might be able to pull some of that.
That would be cool. But yeah, that's about it. We're 18 minutes over. Good conversations today.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to talk more. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just going to
promote
promote
I probably
myself.
should go.
Live space.
I know it's late over there for Daniel.
Live space.
Why don't you go ahead and put your link in the chat, Daniel?
Because I can't, because I'm not a mod.
What's your username on Twitch anyway?
Twitch Surgeon, I think. Yeah, but let's just give a couple of shout outs to ourselves and stuff like that. Visible Speech is my Twitter, and my blog his blog, like Livespace.se, and all that stuff. You will find cool stuff there, in-depth stuff. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. Streamer news. Where can we find streamer news?
At Streamer News TV. Oh, duh. Now we changed our Twitter name. Wow. At Streamer News on Twitter. Then we got StreamerNews.tv for the website. I just want to shout out, everyone who comes in here and hangs out. I just want to say thanks to everyone who helped with the April Fool's article again, because that was really cool of them. It was like a group effort with everyone who did it, and it was fun to do. It was something different that we did for the first time instead of just like Matt and I writing the articles. It was everybody else, so I appreciate that. Thank you guys.
Well, I'm going to drop something here because there's nobody here. Nobody's going to hear me. There's going to be a major announcement for me coming this week that I have not said anything on any social media or anywhere previously to this. So, watch for a big announcement from me within about a week. And that's all.
Is it what I think it is?
It is. Wow. You know a little bit.
I can't
Yep.
wait.
Something